Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. About a week ago, I uploaded a flashback episode talking about one Gwendolyn Beck and what her relationship was to Jeffrey Epstein and why he would be funding a campaign for her to run for office. Well, tonight I have another article that's going to add some more context to that, and we're going to get to know Gwendolyn Beck a little bit better. We're a little bit slow as far as news in the Epstein case, up-to-date news, and we're pretty caught up. So I yanked this one out of the archive, and I figured since we talked about Gwendolyn Beck in that flashback episode, that this morning we'd jump back in and we'd add just a little bit more context to who she is, what she's about, and how she was tied up with Jeffrey Epstein. So, this article is from arlnow.com, arlingtonnow.com. The headline of the article is, Notorious Billionaire Donated to Local Congressional Campaign. Now, billionaire is probably not the right word to describe Jeffrey Epstein, is it? I think pedophile is a better description for the man we're talking about here. This article was authored by arlnow.com, so I'm guessing by the staff, would be my guess. Billionaire financier, pedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein isn't making many political donations these days. This article is from January 8th, 2015, by the way, but it's fitting now as well, right? He's not making too many political donations now either, is he? They would almost certainly get returned, given that the former Democratic donor is a convicted sex offender and has recently been in the headlines for claims that he used underage girls as sex slaves, with Britain's Prince Andrew named as a potential beneficiary. And there's no doubt that he could be considered a Democratic donor. From the early 90s through the 2000s, he donated a lot of money to Democrats, Hillary Clinton, high-profile Democrats too, by the way. Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, Chuck Schumer, the list goes on and on. In fact, I have an article from ABC News that we're going to discuss that goes into some of the more high-profile donations that he made. And I think that it's certainly fitting right now, considering the transfer of power that's underway, and that Biden is going to be the next president, it would seem, and that some of those people that Jeffrey Epstein donated to are going to be, thought about for cabinet positions and positions within the new regime. So we're definitely going to go over that as well, and very soon within the next few days, because I think that's poignant. And another thing, as far as the new regime is concerned, keep a good close eye on how many banksters are added to that regime. It is inevitable that every single presidential transition team that comes through is plagued with a plethora of banksters. And I don't expect President Biden, or President-elect Biden, I should say, his transition team and cabinet to be any different. So why did Gwendolyn Beck, a long-shot independent candidate for Congress in Virginia's 8th District last year, receive what appears to be Epstein's only political donation of 2014, totaling $12,600? Well, it's because her and Epstein were close, right? They maintained a relationship. Jeffrey Epstein had a very close relationship with Miss Beck. And the fact that he didn't have very many allies on the political stage anymore, it would behoove him and benefit him to donate to somebody like Gwendolyn Beck in the long shot hope that she found a way to bring it across the finish line, right? Then he has a little bit more influence with her. And that's why it's important to remember who he donated to in general. And with a new regime coming in, it's super important, because we saw with the Trump regime, when nobody was paying attention, they slipped Acosta in, Steve Mnuchin somehow has been involved, and the list goes on. So I expect there to be the same kind of ridiculousness going on this time around, and most assuredly we'll see some of the career politicians that have been around for years and years and years be involved with the new transition team, etc., etc. Beck, a Roslyn resident who used to work in the financial industry, tells ARLnow.com she simply asked a number of billionaires in her Rolodex for donations, and Epstein was one of them. Yeah, so everyone just has a bunch of billionaires in their Rolodex, right? Yeah, let me just pull out the old handy-dandy Rolodex here. Let me go ahead and lick my fingers and go through it. P.S. Rolodex, really? Nobody has a Rolodex anymore. What is this, 1993? My guess is she doesn't know many billionaires, she's not friendly with many billionaires, and Jeffrey Epstein was probably the only billionaire she knows. So a Rolodex full of billionaires? Okay. I did call every billionaire I know to ask for campaign funds, and Mr. Epstein sent the donations, Beck said via email. I haven't spoken with him personally in years. During my years at Morgan Stanley, started in '95, I managed a portion of his investment funds, about $65 million, and knew him personally. While the press has tagged him a man of mystery because they can't explain how he made his money, it's mostly a combination of real estate and complex derivatives, aka, I'm not going to get into it, I'm smarter than you and I can't explain it to you, complex derivatives. Let me break it down. Money laundering, grifting, and being bankrolled by people like Robert Maxwell and Les Wexner. That's what Miss Beck should be telling us. That's what the real story is. But she'll act like she doesn't know. She'll act like it's, it's not this big secret how Jeffrey made his money. It was just complex derivatives and real estate. Meanwhile, after the 2008 financial collapse, he took a mollywhopping. So I don't look at him as some great genius when it comes to real estate. What did he ever do in the real estate world to make him a genius? What did he ever do in the finance world to make him a genius? Nothing. Ungats. Squat. This guy is fake as could be. Beck continued, at the time, he had a girlfriend he was very close to and was a hard-working, thoughtful man. He comes from a poor background and made a lot of money really fast. I think he went off the deep end when she left. I left Morgan Stanley by this time and had no relationship with them and got involved in very bad behaviors, which he sought therapy for and paid his time in jail. He sought therapy for. According to Gwendolyn Beck, folks, he sought therapy for his behaviors. For his sick-ass proclivities, he sought therapy. Is there any therapy on earth that they could administer to somebody like that? Well, in my opinion, you all know where I'm at with that. Chemical castration and buried underneath the jail. No place in society for an animal that attacks children. No place in society for an animal who attacks women. This guy is a sick dude, a very sick man, and this Gwendolyn Beck was most assuredly an enabler and probably a lot more. She was certainly a confidant. She was somebody that was a lot closer to Jeffrey Epstein than she lets on, and you can tell by the way she answers these questions by trying to frame it like he wasn't a bad guy, like he was a good guy, like he was somebody that should be admired. Beck, who ran on a platform of being financially responsible, socially inclusive, said her decision to accept the cash given to her campaign and 2 PACs she controls is a question of forgiveness. Really? That's what it comes down to, huh? Forgiveness. It has nothing to do with the big dough that he was sending your way, or the fact that you were beholden to him from your past activities with him. What sort of blackmail dossier does Jeffrey Epstein have on Gwendolyn Beck? Again, I don't have direct evidence of that, but we know Epstein collected dossiers. We know that he blackmailed people. Why would we think that he wouldn't have one on her as well? Did voters forgive Marion Barry, etc.? The list is long, she said. I am deeply opposed to and shocked by his behavior, but he has paid his debt to society. Although humanly flawed, he can be a great asset to our nation because he understands finance on a level most people can't comprehend. So right away, this should be ringing alarm bells with investigators. If you're an investigator of Jeffrey Epstein and you're looking at people involved in the case, Gwendolyn Beck most assuredly has to be spoken with. An FBI agent must be dispatched to speak with her. She must go on record. All of these people that palled around with Epstein and who were very, very close to him and part of his inner circle, even if they might not have been involved in the actual sex trafficking, they have to be spoken with. They're material witnesses. They were around. They saw things. They can add tidbits to the investigation. And Gwendolyn Beck is certainly in that category. And the fact that she tries to equate what Jeffrey Epstein did with Marion Barry and drug use, and it's not the same. I mean, look, it's just not the same. There's really nothing you can equate this with. What Jeffrey Epstein was doing was heinous, and the fact that she tried to smooth it over and make it sound like it was no big deal is also heinous. And she is a gross individual who definitely needs to answer some serious questions. And how can you say he paid his debt to society with that bitch-ass, sorry-ass jail sentence he did, that weak-ass bid? How can you even say that he paid his debt to society? If he paid his debt to society, we wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be spending all of this time that I do on this podcast if he had paid his debt to society. I believe that when people have paid their debt, it's time to move on in life. I don't hold it over people's heads after they've paid their debt to society. You go to jail, you get out, and you get to start your life over in most instances. Not when it comes to a crime like Jeffrey Epstein's, though. When you're an abuser, a serial molester, that's not like you made a mistake in life. It's not like, you had an accident and you had a fight with somebody and you accidentally, killed them or something. There's no gray area here. Beck finished a distant third in the November general election with a 2.7% of the vote to 31.7% for Republican Micah Edmond and 63% for the winner, Democrat Don Beyer. That's despite other large donations to her campaign coffers from a number of other wealthy, notable people. Richard Kramer, chairman of Republic Holdings, donated $7,600. Mort Zuckerman, billionaire owner of the New York Daily News and U.S. News and World Report, donated $2,600. George Albrecht, owner of a Boston area car dealership chain, also donated $2,600. Well, that's a long cry from all of the billionaires she knows. It looks like Richard Kramer, who is a pretty rich guy, and Mort Zuckerman, who is definitely a billionaire, and the owner of the Daily News, which is hilarious. The Daily News posts a whole bunch of stuff about Jeffrey Epstein. Has anybody talked to Mort Zuckerman and asked him why he was donating to one of Jeffrey Epstein's toadies? Probably a good question to ask him. Beck said they all supported her centrist message. They all believe in our fiscally responsible, socially inclusive message and that Congress needs at least one independent, she said. This bipartisan fighting needs to stop. Mort Zuckerman and Richard Kramer have interests in Virginia 8, believe in our message, and think I should continue to get a voice for independence. Mr. Albrecht is a like-minded, wealthy family friend who is helping me. So, it's funny, too, because if you notice all of these people, including people like Schumer and McConnell, and add any of your favorite tribal members here, all accept money from outside of their state. Why? Why is that allowed? If you can't raise the money within your state to become a congressman or congresswoman or a senator, then you shouldn't be a congresswoman or a congressman or a senator. You should have to raise that money from your constituents, not from outside donors. It's such a joke. It's so rigged. How do you expect the average citizen to run for office in their district and ever win with all this outside money that pours in to manipulate these districts and to turn the race into a direction that somebody, say, in New York wants? Well, I have news for you. People in Nevada don't give a goddamn what people in New York want. Save your BS for yourselves and save your disgusting dark money. Career-wise, Beck was a sales manager for the now-defunct Eastern Airlines before transitioning to the financial industry in the 1990s, working for firms like Credit Suisse and Morgan Stanley. A few years ago, she wrote a book, Flirting with Finance, which teaches finance through romantic stories. She was photographed attending a state dinner in 2010 with Senator Robert Menendez, Democrat, New Jersey, as the smoking gun pointed out. And we all know about Robert Menendez. He was on trial for being a crook, a criminal, etc., etc. And somehow, magically, he just got off. I mean, there's no way that Robert Menendez could have been guilty, right? I mean, no way. God forbid. Yeah, right. Dude was as dirty as it comes, and his friends in the judicial system protected him. Just more examples of the two-tier justice system that all of us are forced to live under. I don't know about you guys and you ladies out there and everything, I'm just tired of it. I am tired of every time I turn around, one of these rich and pampered silver spooners is catching some kind of major awesome deal, while the rest of us are scrabbling just to survive right now. And then if we were to get in trouble, just say a basic ticket, and we couldn't come up with the money for it, and we get a warrant, well, we're going to jail. But these scumbags, they get caught red-handed, and they get off on technicalities. That shit has to end, man. I am tired of it. Most recently, Beck said she has been volunteering in Arlington, studying for a master's degree in gerontology from George Mason University, and working as an analyst for an investment firm. As for the future political plans, she said she was still contemplating her next move. Not sure at this point. She said, I do believe Congress needs more centrist independence and that our country would be better served with their voices being heard. Oh, yeah, and being called, sent in and called upon by the billionaires who sent you there to be the centrist. I'm sure that would occur. I'm sure that you would go there and just be completely independent, Gwendolyn Beck. It's gross. It is just absolutely gross that this woman accepted that money from Epstein, that she was able to run, and just take a look at where she comes from, where her roots are. Once again, the financial sector. Do we have to be any more clear about how corrupt and how corroded and how rotted the financial sector is from the top down? And you know what the sad part is, folks? And you can take this to the bank. The new administration coming in is going to be littered with the same kind of scumbag banksters. And the song just goes on and on and on with no stoppage in sight. I don't know about anybody else out there, but I can tell you this. Me, personally, I am sick and tired of being ruled over by people like these. I am sick and tired of these banksters behind the scenes pulling the strings, and really making the decisions. It's time that we focus our attention on the real people who are really in charge of the misery around the world, and that are those people that are infesting the financial sector like Gwendolyn Beck, Jess Staley, Leon Black, Glenn Dubin, and others. It is time that these people are taught that there is no such thing as a two-tier justice system, that there is only one justice under the law. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI @protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. Everybody who has helped donate to the podcast and been donating to the PayPal, thank you very, very much. We do appreciate it. As far as the rest of the day, same as usual, we'll be here with the Daily Drop later on tonight, and, we'll go from there. Obviously, if there's some hot news that comes across, we'll definitely get that brought to you as well. But expect for sure the Daily Drop and the usual schedule moving forward this week. All right, everybody, enjoy your Monday, huh?